Hello, everyone. So this week's challenge is about the power of acceptance. And this is directly related to our thinking. What you may notice, and then what you're going to be looking at this week, is how we as human beings have a resistance to things, people, places, things, environmental situations, relational situations, all different kinds of circumstantial things. We will pull back in resistance, and resistance can usually is a byproduct of fear. Remember, we had been talking about the two streams of living, is one is through love and one is through fear. And, there's all these different variations that comes under those two umbrellas. But the number one thing that you're going to find is that if you continually shift from anything that is contributing to thoughts of fear, thoughts of resistance, thoughts of struggle, those are all in the defensiveness, judgment. You want to think of what would be in the stream of fear. Because what we're doing today is we're discussing thought under the umbrella of acceptance. So as you're looking out over your life, you're considering, okay, and you don't know that you're doing it. We're all doing it. Every moment that we're in, every micro moment, our brain, our body is orienting us to the event, the people, the places, the circumstances that we're in. We make determinations about those things consistently. Our brain is designed to keep us safe and to keep us scanning a room for trouble. So once we become astute and understand the way our brain works and that it is there to help us and keep us surviving, we want to master that machine, the brain, instead of having it master us. It's kind of like letting your car drive you instead of you determining, okay, I'm going to drive here.
I'm having trouble hearing you.
That was Siri that just told me she's having trouble hearing me. So anyhow, back to what we're saying. So as you're looking at, your life, and this is what we're going to be doing this week, as things come up in your life, you're going to be making a decision about how you're going to face every single thing that comes your way. So there's different things happening around you, you're having an interpretation of it, right? So I want you to, as you're living your life, consider what you're resisting. There's a loud noise, your kids leave garbage on the floor, your husband doesn't do something you want. It could also be a positive thing. What I'm asking you to do is to shift into a state of acceptance. Acceptance is a state of being. Acceptance is a state of neutrality. It's a place in your heart where you lean back and instead of being worried, instead of being hypervigilant, instead of thinking thoughts of how can I prevent this? How can I stop this? How can I change this? How can I make them do something different? How can I look good? How can I control this circumstance? You got to understand, as women and men as well, of course, the majority of our lives, we're doing that and we don't know we're doing it. The unique state of being is one of neutrality and acceptance. When we hear it just said in those words, it sounds almost like you don't care or that you are just accepting maybe poor treatment or bad things happening in your life. Well, in a way you are, but it doesn't mean you're going to live in it. It doesn't mean, but when we resist something, it controls us. So when our mind starts racing and saying, oh, this can't be, I can't let this be, blah, 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 I have to change that, and blah, 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 what ends up happening is that particular thing, as your thoughts are doing that, is gaining more power, more energetic power. And what we want to do is we want to go into a state of, this is kind of on this plane here, this is what's happening, but now, if I'm looking at it from a state of being that says, I am living in love, that all things that are happening in, around me, through me, all around me, the people that are in my life, everything that's happening is happening for me and it's not happening to me. That all the things, all the circumstances of my life are there for the greater good. Because if you believe that there's goodness on this earth, if you believe that, you know, I believe in God, so I believe that there's a power greater than us that is working all things together to create an unbelievable outcome, not just for me. So sometimes, and this is what you want to hear, sometimes a greater good, and I have to do this in my mind regularly, because when we want something, a greater good for me might not necessarily be the good for you. So what we want to consider is sometimes a greater good for, like, you know, a whole community or a family or whatever includes you having to go through something difficult. And also, and being in a state of acceptance of that would mean I understand that this difficulty or whatever, this, you know, circumstance that I don't like, I understand that as hard as that is, that has to be there for a reason, and I'm going to find it. So instead of, you know, I accept this is where things are. Now, how am I going to apply love? How am I going to put gas on this situation and seek out things that are good, that are going to be produced out of this? So what I want you to understand is that acceptance is the answer to all of our problems today. You know, that's something written in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. It's famous. I used to read it every single morning. It was without fail. It's on page 417 of the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. It used to be on page 449. And if you read that thing, you know, it's an amazing thing. I'm going to have it in your PDF, so you have it. So basically, what you're going to do is you're going to, as you're going through your week, you're going to go step by step, minute by minute. When you feel a resistance to something, you're going to stop. You're going to breathe. And, you know, it doesn't mean that you're going to repress your feelings. You can have a feeling about it, but you're going to be in a state of, it is well with my soul. There is goodness all around me. Because when we fight the thing, it gets stronger. When we accept it, maybe just move through a feeling about it, but without resisting, then it shrinks away. Its power goes away. The power of our thoughts, if we begin to think in thinking in the state of acceptance. So what kind of thinking would that be? That would be, instead of thinking that is struggling, thinking that is not accepting, is anything that's defensive. Oh, I'm not going to put up with that. Or, oh, I can't believe they did that. You know what? They're like this, blah, 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 blah. Because all of those thoughts are fear thoughts. So instead, you don't even have to put an opinion on it. It could be as simple as, in a state of acceptance, that it could be, ouch, ooh, that hurt, right? And it could be, you know, how is this here for me? What does that show me? How does this teach me? What is this for? And, you know, and accept it as a welcomed gift. So there's a lot to all of this, but I want you to begin to think about, how can I shift my thoughts from thoughts of struggle, thoughts of defense, thoughts of judgment, thoughts of resistance, thoughts of, oh, I hope that doesn't happen, you know, or how about thoughts of acceptance, thoughts of leaning back, thoughts of breathing, thoughts of that hurt, but I believe in the goodness of my life. I believe that my life is going to be a good life and it's going to create a greater good. So do you see what I'm saying? This is an abstract concept that I'm really wanting you ladies to really super drive home. And I can hear you already in your comments saying, could you tell me how to do this practically? the number one thing that we do every time, it's about awareness first. So you want to be awake and aware in the now without judgment. So you want to hear, the most important thing is to be hearing your thoughts. Remember, our thoughts are on a loop. Remember that 91% of the thoughts that we think are the same thoughts we thought yesterday, that they're based in our body being a record of memory that is just replaying, I was going to say Channel 12 News, but a lot of you guys are not from around here. So it's like the same story over and over again, that then if you go into that thinking, you're going to produce the same results again. So the state of acceptance allows you to lean back. And it's also something that I'm going to talk about in another week, possibly next week, about living in a state of, instead of it being an external locus of control, it'll be an internal locus of control. So a state of acceptance is not reacting. It's not living and tinkering outside and trying to figure out how to change what is right at this moment. Instead, it's going inward and it's leaning back and it's being, and it's creating, it's not allowing outside things to disturb our peace. It's accepting things as occurring. Jim Rohn, my favorite mentor ever, he says, happenings happen to us all. And it's true, happenings happen to us all. Everything is the way that we interpret it, our response to it, the meaning we attach to it, and there are so many things. I've had a million things. A million is a total exaggeration, but I've had a good handful of really things that most people would just be like, I can't accept that. But acceptance just makes every muscle, it makes everything that's contracted in your body just go, ah. Instead of, let's say your husband's mean to you or whatever. And even if he's mean to you and you don't want to be with him anymore, you can still accept the fact and look at it as something that's not that relevant. Because a state of neutrality is a state that you don't give power to every freaking Tom, Dick, and Harry, or every, breath that comes out of everybody's mouth, every look that they make, every action that they take, every decision, every corporate thing that happens, that you just lean back. And what you're doing is you're creating an overwhelming supernatural power where nothing can touch you. Now, I'm not saying be hardened and any of that. What I'm saying is that you don't need to flinch, because if you believe that you're safe and you're loved and that good things, all things work together for good, no flinching necessary. You can cry, you can experience, you can walk through it. The only way out is through, but what you can also do is be in a state of non-resistance. So I want you to do this. Basically, what you're going to be doing in the PDF and the week is you're going to be acknowledging all the things you're resisting. So that's what I'm just going to ask you. Hey, what are you not accepting today? Everything you're not accepting. What are you fighting against? And what would it look like to lean back and breathe? And then you're going to practice every minute of the day, every day, all day long. Ooh, I'm resisting. Ooh, resistance feels really shitty. Ooh, I feel afraid. Ooh, I'm judging. Ooh, I'm defensive. Ooh, I'm wondering if this is going to be a bad outcome. No, I'm going to. It's the concept of surrender. It's the concept of giving it, laying it down and trusting. There's so much to acceptance. This is your practice this week. I know it's abstract, but you ladies are up for it. I know you can do it. It's a state of surrender. But this is what I want you to know. Some people out there, some of you women, it just came to me, hit me. Some of you women are women of faith. I think a lot of you are. So the people who are really relying and saying, oh, I'm just going to surrender this to God, or I'm going to surrender this to the universe, or I'm going to surrender this to my higher power. I'm laying that down at their feet. What I want you to consider is that's a great practice, but this practice is a little different. What I want you to be doing, instead of saying, I'm not dealing with it, I want you to be aware of it and then shifting into a state of something more neutral, like, you know, wow, what's the beauty that's going to come from this? Oh, wow. Like, you know, I'm not going to sit here and be mad at that person. What can I learn by laying this down and accepting that person in a state of maybe they're not in a great place or whatever it is, not even making a reason for it, just allowing yourself to not ignore it because you handed it off. Because there's different kinds of surrender. We can ignore things when we hand them to God or your higher power. We don't want to do that. You know, sometimes it's cool. You could say, this is too much for me, take that. But I think there's something about still seeing it and saying, you know, it is right with my world. It is well with my soul. I'm okay with you not being okay with me. I'm okay with things not working out to the plan that I perceived, because I'm in a state of ultimate surrender, ultimate acceptance. It's a whole state of being that if we can get ourselves shifted into it all day long, life will be very good. Okay? I hope you guys enjoy this challenge. Please leave me messages or whatever. I want to hear from you. Okay? Love you so much. Bye.